Hello and greetings from Maven Consulting Services. Back to our channel. Everyone is aware of the fact that the GRE is undergoing a change in September of 2023. So we thought this is the right time to bring you updates on what is changing, what is expected, and how you should prepare for it. Today with us we have Mr. Vikram, who's our GRE trainer for the last 17 odd years. And I have no count on how many students he has trained. So we thought we'll listen from the horse's mouth, who's been training students for GRE for the last 17 years and who's undergone intensive training on the new GRE as well by ETS, where he was a part of many workshops conducted by ETS to spread the news and message on what's changing in GRE. So let's straight ahead go and ask him some few questions about the new GRE and let's see what he has to say about it. Thank you, Vikram, for spending your time with us. So let's quickly go ahead and try and answer some of the most common questions that I feel the students' apprehensions are on the new GRE.
Sure.
First things first, What is changing and when is the change going to happen?
The change is going to happen on September 22nd of this year. And they are saying that the last date when you can write the present format of the GRE, which is for 3 hours 45 minutes, is going to be September 20th. And a lot of slots are getting booked already. A lot of my students have said that there are hardly many slots left in September. So if there are students out there who still want to take the easier GRE, which is the present GRE, then I would suggest that students should go ahead and book the exam date as soon as possible and be done with the exam by September 20th this year latest.
The hidden thing here, he says, is if you want to write the easier GRE, then it is the current version. So are you hinting, Mr. Vikram, that the new GRE is going to be tougher than the existing one?
Absolutely, Mr. Rajshekar. If you look at it historically, whenever GRE has changed, it has not been to help students, right? Their purpose is not the students. Their purpose is very simple. Colleges want a way to filter students out. And every time GRE has changed, it has been because students are getting higher and higher scores. Now, in the last couple of years, especially the last decade, if you see, the number of international students who are taking the GRE has gone up drastically. So if you see statistics that GRE ETS themselves release, they say that about 30% of students who take the GRE are Indians, another 30 to 35% are Chinese, which means 70% or more students are international test takers. Now what happens is, the result of this is more and more students prepare harder because the competition is more. There's a huge investment involved, and so directly that results in students' scores going higher and higher and higher every year.
So that's why you are hinting that the test is going to be tougher from September 2023 and it's not going to get easier just because it is going to be shorter.
Correct.
Thank you. What if I've already registered? Can I reschedule the test?
Now, there are two situations here. So let's say you're a student who's booked for the new version and you did not know that the new version is going to be coming, right? Which means the date you have booked for the GRE is somewhere after 22nd of this year, September, and you're worried now that, new GRE, I really don't know what's going to be there. At least the number of questions, the sections in each, how many sections are going to be there, all that is not very clear. So I want to write the old GRE. So ETS says, hey, we won't charge you anything. So there's a link, you can register, using the link you can re-register for the exam, change your test date, and this is free of cost. But let's say you are a student who's registered for the
old format
GRE, yes, the present form, and you want to take up the shorter version because you feel that perhaps I'll have a better chance at taking the GRE which is shorter, right? Then they say that you have to pay for the changes because you didn't register for the new exam, you registered for the old one, but you're willing to go ahead and test the new format. So they will charge you $50 as the changing cost.
So if you want to reschedule from the current format to the new format, you pay $50.
Absolutely.
But if you want to reschedule from the new format to the old format, they don't charge anything.
That's right.
That's the bottom line.
Yes.
Thank you. What is the overview of the present GRE before we talk about or compare it with the new GRE?
Okay, so the present GRE starts off with the AWA section, the analytical writing assessment, where you have two essays. First is the issue essay, 30 minutes, and then the argument essay, which is again 30 minutes. And then you have your first math or verbal section. If it's a verbal section, it's for 30 minutes and you have 20 questions. You will see 2 or sometimes 3 verbal sections on the exam, and then you will see math sections also, which will have 20 questions, but you get 5 minutes more, so the timing is 35 minutes for a math section. Overall, you will see 2 math, 2 verbal, and 1 dummy or experimental or research section. We don't know which is experimental, so students are of course attempting every math or verbal section as if it contributed towards their overall score. Yes. And the overall testing time for all this put together, with a 10-minute break included, is about 3 hours 40 or 45 minutes, which is pretty long.
Yes.
But the good news is you have more questions. So think of it this way, you know, when we were in school, we all took the unit test, which was for 25 marks. And then we took the midterm exam, which was 50 marks. And then we had the annual examination, which was for 100 marks. Now, what happens is, when you have lesser questions, every mistake you make on the unit test is costing you your score. So it becomes very difficult for a student to reach a 90% on a 25-mark exam, and it's much easier for the same student to write a 100-mark final exam and come out with flying colors, because he has more questions, which means more chances to make mistakes and still end up with a good score.
Excellent.
Right? So that's not going to be there.
So what is it going to be the new GRE now? How is it going to be different from the current one?
So GRE says, and I quote them, it's a shorter version. Now, unfortunately, most students are equating this in their head as shorter equal to easier. Well, it depends, doesn't it? If it's your salary, you want not a shorter salary slip, you want a longer salary. And if you want experience, okay, if it's something related to worthwhile, we want that's longer, it's not shorter. Now, GRE, as it happens, the longer exam is better because the shorter version has nearly half the time. So the time is only going to be 1 hour and 58 minutes. There is no break. They've removed the break. They say, such a short exam, why do you need the break? They have removed one of the essays. So instead of 2, students will be writing only the issue essay. They've removed the argument essay. And the number of questions in each section, which was fixed in the past, 2020, has now become kind of variable. I'm saying variable because ETS has been completely mum about how many questions. However, our own research shows that the breakup is going to be 12 questions in the first section, which is nearly half of what it was in the past, 20 versus 12. And the second section is going to have 15 questions instead of 20, which is still only 75% of what you got in the past. So lesser questions. So they say the number of questions has reduced, but very important, the overall time that you get to solve each question has not changed at all. So in the past, a verbal section, any question you take, you would get about 90 seconds to solve. So even now they say it's the same. The number of questions has reduced, but so you can do 15 into 90 seconds, which is about what, 21 minutes. And then the first section will be 12 questions. 12 questions again is going to give you about 18 minutes. So you're done with it. And in the math section, you get 3 minutes more, which means you get 12 questions in the first math and you will get 21 minutes to complete it. And the second section will have 15 questions and you will get about 23 minutes to complete it.
Oh, that's a lot of math. It's just bouncing my head.
Okay.
Everyone knew or knows that the current GRE is adaptive.
Yes.
So is the new shorter exam still adaptive?
That is the word. At least that's what ETS has confirmed. So they say that GRE is still going to be section adaptive. The word they use for that is MST, multi-stage test. And they guarantee that that is not going to change. However, a fair warning to students, they have not said anything about the breakup of questions. So there is a possibility that they change the weightage of reading comprehension or vocabulary-based questions. There's a possibility they could change not the number of questions or the content or the syllabus of the exam, but the weightage of the questions. For example, geometry versus arithmetic versus data interpretation. How many questions? That could definitely change. They've not said anything about it yet. So if that changes, then it's going to spell uncertainty to students, to say the least.
But they have clearly mentioned that it is still going to be an adaptive test.
Absolutely right. There is
Good.
no change in that.
Because of pandemic, GRE and ETS announced that they would have the home edition option open.
That's right.
So is the new testing still available for the home edition?
It is available for the home edition, but based on my experience and the bitter experience that many of my students has faced, I would deter students to take the home edition. Home edition, students have to understand, is not for people who are in a developed country like ours. For example, in India, in our city Bangalore, you have 2, sometimes even 3 test centers that students can go and write the exam. Now, if we are from a third world country like Africa, then the options that the student has to go and write it at the center is very limited. Or even in Bangalore, let's say you're from a place which is not developed, a metropolitan city, some small place like Trichy.
Rural village or something.
Yes. Then in that case, a student really is benefited by taking the online test. However, at-home test has a lot of problems. So the first thing they say is, suppose you log in 12 minutes late, you will be cancelled and not allowed to write the exam. Now 12 minutes late is just going to happen like that if your internet issue is there, or if your system says Windows update happening,
or there's a power failure.
Yes, so these are things that is beyond the ability of a student to control. The other thing that has happened in the past with at-home option is that they say if a student does anything that looks suspicious, and I'm quoting this because they say it looks suspicious to the
proctor.
Invigilator, the proctor. Now, anything could look suspicious. For example, I'm reading a passage and I'm mumbling it to myself, right?
Yes.
So my lips are moving. And then they say, you know what? I think you're talking to somebody. Maybe Rajshekar is sitting there helping you out with your verbal section. And they will say, we cancel your scores.
Yes.
Or let's say
and it has happened to many of the test takers.
75,000 students' scores were cancelled. And the reason that ETS gave them was just an email saying suspected cheating. Suspected cheating.
Yes. With no evidence to prove it.
They felt that it wasn't necessary to kind of justify it, because in India it was a well-known fact that many students were using cheating means, asking third-party people to write.
A lot of scams also did come up on it.
Did come up. But what I'm saying is, so these problems are there at home, which is completely not going to be there if you take it at the center.
Fantastic. The big question, which version of the test should I write?
If you have a choice, if you can take the present GRE, go for it. The adage says, an unknown angel is worse than a known devil,
yes,
right? Or the known devil is better than an unknown angel. So right now, if you're thinking, well, the GRE is long and it's a big devil, I say, you know what? It's a known devil. You know what to expect, you know the construct of the exam, you know the breakup of the questions, and you have a lot of excellent material available. If you're going to be taking the new GRE, you don't have any material. ETS themselves have spelt it out in black and white that the earliest they can release any material for the new GRE that would give us insight is going to be September. And when is the exam launching?
September 22nd.
So it's almost like at the brink of the moment. The brink of the moment they're going to be releasing materials. And if a student is really hoping that with that I will be able to get an insight, not true.
It looks difficult. It definitely looks difficult.
So my recommendation would be, go ahead, give it the shot if you have a choice. And you know what? If you think you can do better on the shorter version, why not? Take the new version as well. But at least you have you've already done what best you could have done by taking the exam and keeping the old score with you.
Yes. Now, since we're talking about should I write the old GRE or the new GRE, is there a change in the scoring pattern by any chance?
So ETS says that they have taken a lot of effort to make sure that there is absolutely no change in the way the questions are asked or in the scoring pattern. So as of now, what we know is, no, there's not going to be any change in the scoring.
So it's still out of 340?
Yes.
The math and the English out of
130 to 170, and the essay score is still going to remain the same. So there is not going to be any way for a college to find out if you took the new GRE or the old one.
They could probably know by the test date if it's the new GRE or the old GRE,
Yes,
depending on the date of the test
Correct.
is.
Correct.
Fantastic. Now, everyone is aware of the fact that they need to report their official score, something called as the additional score reporting to the universities once they make applications.
Correct.
So, is there a change in the additional score reporting?
No, that still remains the same. So at the end of the exam, you have a screen that asks you, are you ready to report your scores? And then you can select up to 4 colleges in the exam center before you walk out where you want to send your GRE scores to. If you want to apply to additional colleges, you can log into your ETS website, and for every additional college, you're paying ETS $30 additional fee. Score reporting fee.
So the score reporting remains the same, the exam fee remains the same.
Yes.
It's just that it's getting shorter.
Yes.
And tougher, as the analysis says so.
Yes.
Hopefully, or the research says so. Now, any resources for students who are planning to write the GRE, how should they go about it?
For the old GRE, God bless you, you don't have to do anything. You already have a ton of material that's been available for the last, ever since it changed, 2011. So 13 years of material nearly you have. You can use that and you can prepare. But if a student is planning to write the new GRE, the bad news is they only have everything that is for the old test, which means a student just has to believe that, well, what ETS is saying is true, so let me go ahead and use this material. So the syllabus has not changed, that is true. So if a student wants to get upgrade his skill sets, or for that matter, expose himself to the types of questions and pattern of the GRE, I think the old GRE is okay. But if a student is very serious about getting a good score, then the scoring is going to change. So that part, I really don't think we have anything, and it's unfortunate.
Okay, so they will have to wait until the September 1st week if they really need insight and access to the new material that hopefully ETS says that it would give you insight on.
And based on their records, like for example, ETS had said in the interview that we had with them that July 1st week, they will be out with a lot of new stuff about the new GRE. For example, what is the breakup of the sections, the timing for each section, and then the syllabus distribution and things like that. Nothing has come out yet. And as we speak today, it's already nearly the mid of July. So there's a possibility that if they are going to keep up this record of keeping up with timelines, then perhaps it's only going to be on September 22nd that anybody gets to know anything about the new GRE.
Okay, so a lot of apprehensions, anxiety among students.
Yes.
And I'm very sure in the days to come, things will get a little more clearer on how this is going to be ahead. So I'm sure, I think we've covered some of the apprehensions and the anxiousness of students with respect to the new GRE, and a lot of hullabaloo going on about it as to its changing and what they should do and what they should think about it and all that. So to all our viewers, if you have any questions pertaining about whether it's the current GRE or the old GRE, you can post them in the comments and our trainer will try to address to your questions and concerns. And we are also planning to run a series of our GRE videos where we'll be interacting with Vikram on how they should start prepping up for GRE, whether it's the current one or the old one. And Maven Consulting Services also offers GRE training. And if you are interested to get trained from the best in the industry, from the master trainer, you can connect with us through comments and we'll be more than happy to help you. So Vikram, thank you so much for spending your time with us. It was really insightful. I'm very sure we are looking forward for a lot of comments and we'll keep disturbing you with those questions and we'll be able to address the students on this. Thank you so much for your insights on the new GRE.
It has been my pleasure and I'm very excited to do this more and more.
Thank you.
Thank you.